bro. Come here. So, going to talk about the grieving process a little bit, and not like you think. So, I've spoken on this before on videos several years ago. It's actually a really good and important thing that most people understand the process because life is full of loss, like death and taxes, right? So you lose money, you lose life, you lose loved ones, you know. So here's the thing. Now, you paper. You can grieve your shattered dreams. You have to, because when they're shattered, you're going to grieve, whether you realize it or not. Now, there is such a thing as unhealthy coping, there is such a thing as complete and total denial or ignorance of the process. These things lead to a failure to properly cope, which then leads to a lifetime of pathological negative behaviors. Spontaneous things that you'll do and be like, why do I do that? And it will be things that anger or hurt or alienate others. Now, before the madness ramped up several years ago, or rather, I should say, before the curve became much steeper, because it was already on a ramp, right? It was already going up slowly. The world was already full of people with an utter failure to cope with much of the trauma in their lives. Get anger issues, irrationality, narcissism, psychopathy, lashing out, post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder is exacerbated by a failure to cope. It's one thing that traumatic events happen, certain things, stressors may cause you to relive that trauma at a later point in life because it's your mind's ability to anticipate threats that you've already experienced to protect yourself. So, in a sense, when somebody pushes people away from them because of their failure to cope and severe post-traumatic stress, or complex PTSD too, because a lifetime of shit can do that too. That's basically like a borderline personality disorder kind of thing, but not exactly the same, but they are very similar. So, or maybe they are the same. But so the thing is that a lot of it has to do with behaviors that effectively push people away from you, to alienate others, to what you could say subconsciously attempt to prevent yourself from being hurt again. Because the less people around you, the less loss you might have to go through. It's not really rational, but it's like a consistent line of thinking. So the thing is, when you go through the grieving process, there is a point to this. When you go through the grieving process, of course, there's steps. I've been through the steps. Denial. See, how does it go? Denial, bargaining, numbness, anger. Or is it anger and then numbness? And so they don't always come in order either. After the numbness, there is a period of acceptance. Then there is a healing step of closure and moving on. And if you fail or miss or omit that step, then it's like you spend the rest of your life coping with an event that is long since past. Likewise, in the process, where a lot of people have issue, where a lot of the failure to cope comes from, is for whatever reason, without assigning any type of responsibility or blame on anyone or anything, the bargaining and anger and denial can work together. And what can happen is when the bargaining is not just, please tell me this isn't, no, this isn't right. You gotta, getting broken up with, this would be the point where you try and find some desperate, idea for what might bring that person back or whatever. All these things, right? And you get this resentment. Part of the anger is lashing out at something you can do nothing about. It's frustration, right? But so the thing is that in this process, you get people who will do things like try and bargain with God over a deceased loved one, or get into weird necromantic dark magic to try and resurrect it. None of that shit works, right? So in any circumstance, there may be an impulse to revolt against whatever is the perceived arbiter of real and not real, or possible and impossible, and that which is versus that which is not, or whatever. Now, bear in mind, this is actually an extremely sophisticated, abstract concept to even conceive of, because you're talking about this is where you get people that would call themselves atheists, and then somebody they love, perishes, and they're screaming "fuck you, God" at the sky when they just claim they don't believe it, So, and I've been there, 100% have been there. But so the thing is, as I started it off with, and as the title of this video will surely relate to, and I don't mean dreams like when you wake up, although I've mourned waking up a few times, because I've had some dreams that were like, if this could be reality. I'm not talking superpowers, I'm just talking a regular life with some happiness, ambition, and the ability to accomplish goals. To flourish under the idea of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? So this is where we come to a shattered dream. The idea that the world will get better. The idea that whatever it was that you thought your life was about prior to about 2-3 years ago, right? Up in smoke. Up in smoke. What do? Well, a lot of people are in denial. People were in denial the entire time that this cataclysm happened. They refused the paradigm shift. They believed what they were told. They went with the program, followed the script, and in doing so, damned us all. At least as far as the earthly measures go. Not 100% at this time on what the actual, soul implication, mark of the beast kind of stuff, or whatever that, whatever the experience beyond the mortal coil is if there's any judgment or whatever, or, who knows. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But as far as, like in the case of me, my individual, I know that people felt good about helping people out or whatever as they saw it, felt good about not killing grandmas or something, but I also felt good about knowing that something was bullshit and not going along with it just to not piss people off, because it was bullshit. So, I wanted to be a musician for a very long time. Pretty much my entire adult life had been spent, attempting to get a band off the ground, something where I could get a record deal, go on tour, live the rock star life, make money, whatever. And even if it didn't make money, as long as that was what I was doing, right? But it's expensive. People are shit, so getting a full band together to keep it together for long enough and have everybody get along with it, not in this life, right? And eventually, as those things were winding down, I kind of set new goals. I grieved the loss of this perceived dream of a career that I had. And like the idea that the world will get better, it was never going to happen. So then I got into a relationship. I was a step parent for about a decade. That was some of the best years of my life. And then that ended. Had to grieve that dream too. And what basically happened was, sorry, I'm setting something up here. Basically happened was I had to grieve the loss of a relationship. I had to grieve the loss of being a parent. I'd previously, just a year or two prior, or three, had to grieve the loss of both of my parents. I had to grieve the loss of, basically an entire half of the family that I can't be around. All these relationships were severed. I had to, heal significantly. And I had to go through that process, which I had just, become an expert at with my parents. So things changed. No longer a parent, no longer married, no longer with a teammate, shield maiden, partner, however you want to look at it, right? Had to grieve that. Had to learn to get by. Could not revolt. Could not go crashing after them and try and do anything. That's not the way to do it. No, I understood there would be a bargaining phase, and I made sure to keep my mouth shut and offline during that time because I already knew the reality of it. I just had to allow my emotions to cycle through the process. So, let me see here. Basically, people need to, in general, grieve the loss of what they thought their life was going to be about. They need to grieve the loss of their ambitions. And I'm not saying to become demoralized. What I'm saying is that understand that as prior to all this crazy shit happening, the things you would have told your kids about, sometimes there are things in life that you want that you can't get unless you work for it. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much you work for it, you may still not be able to get it. Or it may be taken from you, or it won't be available. Or the other thing being, maybe this thing that your ambition or your dream to reach for, not trying to be pessimistic or a downer, but maybe it was never meant to be because it's like, you're not capable. There's all kinds of things, right? So it'd be like a guy with an 85 IQ saying, I want to be the next Albert Einstein. And you're not. That 85 IQ dude is also not able to do even basic math, right? Oh, I'm going to be the next Einstein. I'm going to discover the physics. Okay, buddy, right? Grieve the loss of the dream. So, I watched a reaction channel who's gotten political. I've seen it other places. Folks talk about the stuff that they were planning on doing before and trying to get back to it. But the problem is, much like with me trying to stop my roof from leaking because it's been dripping a lot, I am blessed. I can only say blessed to be able to probably get a car here fairly soon to replace the truck that I can't really afford to keep up at this time because of inflation, because of all these things, right? Prices are going up, wages really aren't. And even if wages go up, it won't really do much good, and it won't be very long until the prices have to go up again. So this idea of saving up a bunch of money and doing a bunch of things is probably not going to happen when you look at the actual likelihood of future events. Talking about states versus states, talking about shortages to the point of food riots, talking about there's a tent city of homeless people that is fairly significant living next to the highway in my 35,000 maybe population city. Hundreds, probably. People who were negatively affected by everything from the last several years that there's no fix for, there's no hope for, right? They had dreams too. And what I'm saying is, right now, the goal, the ambition, the dream really needs to be preparedness, survival, and sanity. Sanity, the ability to maintain rational thought, to stay logical, to understand the cause and effect so that you don't do something expecting A to cause C when A causes B, and B doesn't necessarily cause C. Problem is that, culturally, educationally, governmentally, everything like that, socially, people are self-centered, shallow, not particularly smart, and many people are already demoralized. So this is why you look at the world, you look at all the people, you look at the events, you look at the direction of things. No, it's not getting better. Not sure it can. That's that whole point of that reset they've been talking about, right? So whether they have control or lose control, it doesn't matter. They've already tipped the tower. So, you can get out from under it. You can try and ride the top of it like they're doing. But being in the tower, being under the tower, trying to, gonna stop the tower. That ain't gonna happen. So, you wanted to visit Europe, it's probably not a good idea. Oh, I've never seen New York City. Bro, you don't want to go there. Just back in the day, it was just like, oh, cool, we're gonna take a trip to Chicago. Something like 40 people every single weekend get murdered in gun violence there, in a place where guns are banned. Like, that's madness. That's dystopia. That's craziness. Oh, yeah, you can go look at sterilized downtown. Okay, cool. Seen the architecture. Cost a shitload of money, a long-ass drive to get there. Most other cities the same way. Lots of them with just, poop in the streets, right? This is not a world conducive to living out these materialistic, self-centered dreams of, people's experience like this, jetpacks in Dubai. No. Unless you're already in the elite club, the people that are riding, they've knocked the tower over, they are standing on top of it, it goes down, is he watching? As soon as it hits the ground, we're going to jump and survive. That may not work. So, what I'm getting at is, you're going to have to grieve your dreams. You're going to have to healthily cope with the loss of these unrealistic expectations for life. And get into, how do I put it, the new paradigm, which is actually survival, sustenance, really, when you get to it, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but not in any significant, like I said, material or I don't even know how to put it, the self-centered unenlightenment of the world kind of way. I will not be visiting the Grand Canyon. I will not be going to Niagara Falls. I will not be, certainly, dude, Canada? Nah. Australia? Nah. New Zealand? They just made another announcement. They're getting even worse. And they want to do that here too eventually. What I'm getting at is, understand the reality of the situation. Get out of the denial. Stop trying to bargain with monsters who have only your worst interest at heart. Stop trying to bargain with them. Don't get angry. And also, though, don't be numb to it. Get through the process. Accept the reality. And the healing, the moving on, is that first you get yourself self-sufficient as much as possible. Stocked up for an emergency so if things get hairy, you can stay inside for a bit. Get strapped so that you can defend that food and where you're holed up at if shit gets crazy. Because the thing is, eventually, even if you're in denial, even if you're trying to bargain, what's going to happen is every single one of us will be unable to financially continue. It will become a matter of the job doesn't cut it, it costs more to get to work than what I bring home, I gotta quit, whatever. That's gonna come for a lot of people. And if those people are expecting their food card from the government to cover the ability to feed themselves, how are you going to get to the store? Will the store have food? Will there be riots and fights when the store doesn't have food? These are questions, right? That I don't have an answer to quite yet because it ain't happened just yet, but it's getting there. But I will tell you something that your food card from the government won't cover, and that is the ability to defend yourself and your family and your home. And, did I mention? I haven't yet. I'll just mention it next week. Congress is supposed to vote on what effectively, if they can pass this beast, will be the end of your ability to do exactly that. 22 rimfire is going to be the biggest bullet they allow if they pass it. You can't reload those. Yeah, they're cheap, but you can't take a deer with one of those. You probably couldn't take a raccoon unless you got him square between the eyes. And you certainly couldn't take a human with one of those. Oh, that's good. We can't. No. Think about it, though. Somebody busts into your house and you pop them with a BB gun. Does it stop them from harming your family, taking your stuff? And no. I'll tell you this right off the bat. The answer to your question is no. Their life is not worth more than your shit. Because they chose to try and take from someone else. Doesn't matter how bad they need it. You need your shit more than they need your shit. But you don't need their shit more than they need their shit. See what I'm saying? People will become insular. It will be hell in large metros. The people out in the boonies, like myself, may figure out ways to get by. A little bit of cooperation. A lot of people out here are going to perish too. In short, what I'm saying is, dream another dream. This dream is over.
Hey, come on, man. Wake up.
this stream is